Yeah, some people don't like you just because your strength reminds them of their weaknesses. Don't let the hate slow you down. No, in life they will continue to talk about you, they will criticize you. How can you overcome these criticisms that when people are talking about you? Because they will never stop to talk about you for sure. Uh, Even when you are doing something, you will still get resistance from people. How can you come out of it? You know, if you start something, they will start criticizing you. Like if you want to invent something, then they will continue talking against you. Now, when they see that you are almost succeeding, they will start throwing stones at you. And then, when you finally succeed, they want to use you as an example. That's very true. It happens in life. We can't stop that. Steve Covey, I mean, Stephen Scott, in his book Mentored by a Millionaire, gives 3 stages of turning criticism into positive early for you. Number 1, it says, consider the source of the criticism. All critics are not created equal. This source of criticism you have to look at. How qualified is the critic? What is the basis of the criticism? What is the motive of the critic? Because you might get somebody, like if it is your professor in school, you have written a term paper, is criticizing you, is giving you criticism, he's qualified and he's trying to help you. What is the basis of the criticism? It's to build you to be a scholar. That would be a good reason to look at that criticism, that it's okay. What is the motive of the critic? Does the professor have anything against you? But in life, there are people who would want to criticize your work where they are not qualified, when there is no basis, their basis is negative, they only want to put you down because they want to bring you down. That's one you have to consider. Another consideration is consider the accuracy of the criticism. Is it accurate? Because not every criticism is bad. You can look at it that he might be giving you something to help you succeed. So you have to wait on that how accurate is the criticism. Another one is take responsibility for your response to a criticism. Don't react, respond. Respond is different from reacting. If you want to react, you may want to talk ill of the critic, belittle the critic to get even. That is not going to help. If you respond, you look at the criticism clearly, see if there is anything you can get from there which can benefit you. That would be a very nice way of dealing with any criticism. Pay attention to whom your energy increases and decreases around, because that is the universe giving you a hint of who you should embrace or stray away from. Because in that criticism, you can listen to the inner voice, whether it's a time for you to quit, moving from the person, or moving closer. So, see, like in that figure, when somebody starts building a plane, they say, it's not going to do anything. It's not going to succeed. It can't do anything out of it. But when you succeed, they want to give you as an example. So don't allow the opinion of others to control your life. Live your life. And And a practical example that we can see about criticism. King David was the youngest son of Jesse. And he was relegated to take care of the sheep. He had 7 brothers ahead of him. Now, when he recruited the armies, 3 of his elder brothers were fighting in the armies, which was a privilege. But him was relegated to taking care of the sheep. So one day his father told him to go and check his brothers in the battlefield, to take food to them. So he went, woke up early in the morning and went and reached there. And found that they are in the battlefield and they are traumatized by the giant Goliath. Now David was surprised to see that all of the armies of Israel were terrified of this big giant. And then David asked the men standing near him, what will be done for the man who kills this Philistine and removes this disgrace from Israel? Who is this uncircumcised Philistine that he should defy the armies of the living God? They repeated to him what they had been saying, and they told him this is what would be done for the man who kills the giant. They listened to him, they responded to him. Now listen to his brother. When Eliab, David's oldest brother, heard him speaking with the men, he burned with anger at him and asked, why have you come down here? And with whom did you leave those few sheep in the wilderness? I know how conceited you are and how wicked your heart is. You came down only to watch the battle. You know, in life, do you know the people who criticize you are the people who know you? The people who try to put you down are the people who know you, very close to you. See, he talked to other men, they didn't criticize him, but his elder brother is having a scanting criticism, very strong. Why have you come down here? He was not even, he was sent by his father to see them, how they are doing. He's not even asking, how is your father? I'm happy to see you. Nothing. That's his eldest brother. And even the sarcasm there in Eliab was affront to David. Those few sheep. Have you ever been belittled by the loved one, your husband, your wife, your brothers, your father, or what? And how it hurts? That is exactly what David went through. Now, see how David responded. Now, what have I done? David asked. Can't I even speak? Now, see the 3 stages of it. I think David took care of those stages. First of all, he considered the source of the criticism. Is he qualified to judge him? He guess not. And he must have looked, he was not qualified. And what motive? The motive he had. He must have been jealous with David. But David chose his response. He was able to choose the response. He didn't react. He only responded because he understood Eliab is having his own issues. Because let me tell you, David knew exactly. Eliab was there when Samuel came and anointed David. All Jesse was told to bring his sons. He didn't bring David. But he brought all his other sons except David. The man he left outside was David, because he was still looking care of his sheep. When all of these sons came, when Eliab came, who was the eldest, he knew automatically was the apparent. He was the one going to be crowned to be king, to be anointed. But even Samuel himself thought Eliab was tall and handsome, and they said, this is the king. God told him, no. Don't look at the outside appearance. I look inside. All of his brothers passed through, but none God chose. And then Samuel asked, do you have other sons? He said, no, it's only one who is taking care of the sheep is the youngest. What? So, you know, when somebody asks you, have you ever got or are these all the sons you have? There is still the youngest. Jesse answered, he is tending the sheep. Samuel said, send for him. We will not sit down until he arrives. So, David, a man who was relegated to take care of the sheep, is soon becoming a person of interest now. That's exactly what happened. Now, so they sent for him, and he was brought. And you know, there were glowing description about him. So they were there when actually he came and was anointed. David, the Spirit of the Lord had departed from them all. So when David came, and he was glowing with health and had a fine appearance and handsome features, then the Lord said, rise and anoint him. This is the one. Remember, this Eliab was right there when David was anointed. You know, no matter how people will take, you know, we have different translation, how they have translated this. The New Hard English Bible describes this verse that, and he sent and brought him in, and he was reddish brown, and had beautiful eyes, and was handsome. And the Lord said, arise, anoint him, for he is the one. The New English, even it's much more interesting how the New English version puts this. I like how the the various fashions talk about it. The New Living Translation says, so Jesse sent for him. He was dark and handsome, with the beautiful eyes. And the Lord said, this is the one, anoint him. The New American Standard Bible says, so he sent a word and brought him. Now he was reddish, with the beautiful eyes and handsome appearance. And the Lord said, anoint him. And New Revised Standard Version even puts it clearly, he sent and brought him in, for he was ruddy and had beautiful eyes, and was handsome. Why am I giving you all these fashions? Because sometimes a true meaning is lost in a translation. Trying to get what these words mean. There are words. One of them was said it was reddish brown. Another is saying was ruddy. And you know, according to the translation, the meaning of ruddy, the word ruddy, is an adjective of a person who says having a healthy red color, a cheerful, pipe-smoking man of ruddy complexion, used as a euphemism for bloody. So that is what the word ruddy means. So it was dark brown, probably. He wasn't that white like the other people. He was dark. Might have been black, who knows? How many times have you been discriminated because of your color? People criticize you, they don't give you a position because of that. But David chose to remain. You know, David did not, one of the things we find here, that David, even despite all his brother putting him down, he only asked, what have I done? He chose his response very well. Even when his elder brother, who was saying, why have you come down here? Eh? And you know, even the last statement is so fun. I know how conceited you are and how wicked your heart is. This is the man, God says that a man after my heart. But this elder brother is saying what? I know how conceited you are and how wicked your heart is. So was Eliab qualified with this? God says he's the only one who knows the hearts of men. Was Eliab qualified? No. Did he have good motive? No. Did he have a basis of why he was criticizing David? No. David chose his response. He was not discouraged by his brother. But he said that he would fight. He would fight Goliath and defeat him. So what David said was of a heart and reported to Saul, and Saul sent for him. And David said to Saul, let no one lose heart on account of this Philistine. Your servant will go and fight him. Eh? A young man standing at the king and saying, your servant will go fight for him. Saul replied, oh, you are not able to go out against this Philistine and fight him. You are only a young man, and he has been a warrior from his youth. Yeah. Was Saul qualified? Yes. With his experience as a king and as a fighter, I think he said the truth, that you can't fight him. But here is what David said. But David said to Saul, your servant has been keeping his father's sheep. When a lion or a bear came and carried off a sheep from the flock, I went after it, struck it, and rescued the sheep from its mouth. When it turned on me, I seized it with its hair, struck it, and killed it. Your servant has killed both the lion and the bear. This uncircumcised Philistine would be like one of them, because he has defied the armies of the living God. The Lord who rescued me from the paw of the lion and the paw of the bear will rescue me from the hand of the Philistine. When he said those words, Saul saw the confidence in this young man, and Saul said to David, go, and the Lord will be with you. You see, a man who was qualified He told him, you are young. But when he clearly stated his case, Saul knew God was with this young man. How many people you would ask to give you a recommendation even when they know your capabilities? How many? How many would you tell like that? Your servant has killed both the lion and the bear. This uncircumcised Philistine would be like one of them because he has defied the armies of the living God. How many times the people you know, you can give them a very good resume, you have the experience, you have this, but see, they turn you down, they can't get you that job. Is it that you are not qualified? If you have done all those things, you have killed the bear. That is what happens. People who are close to you, they know you, but they can't. You know, I was told by one young man a very interesting story. This young man was working in an hospital. He was calling that there was a patient who needs attention because he was a neurosurgeon. They came, experienced doctors had ruled out that the possibility, the only choice was to do a surgery, but with the person's age, the chances of surviving a surgery would be hard. When these specialists came and looked at it and said, oh, he looked at the man, he said, no, we'll try and go do surgery. Even if the chances of survival are small, but I think he will succeed. They went and did surgery. The surgery was successful. Now they were asking, they were applauding him. But they said, why did you risk when you knew you went against the science that even many experienced doctors had recommended not to do the surgery? That is when they came to realize. When the man woke up, the young man came and said, do you remember me? He said, no. Dr. Carr, you don't remember me. You are the one who signed my recommendation letter to go to medical school. I had tried, you didn't know me. I had tried my family doctor. My parents pleaded with my family doctor to sign a letter because it required a medical doctor to sign. He couldn't sign. A man who had treated all his siblings and the parents turned them down. The people they knew, the people they went to church together, they failed to sign for him a recommendation to go to medical school. But when I came to your office some years ago, you listened to my story and signed. And when I went to that school, the dean of the faculty saw your recommendation, said, if Dr. Carl signed for you, you are as well as taken because he was my good teacher. That's how I went to medical school and then I became a surgeon. Dr. Carl was surprised. No, are you really that young man I signed for? I had to do everything because I am what I am. Even you can go for recommendation of the people who know you. The people you think they were close, they were to give you, but they acted like Eliab. Now see what happens on that story of David as we continue to talk about David. Now, David, Saul wanted to give him his armor, but he put it on and said, I'm not used to it. Let me just go. So David went ahead without the armor. He went ahead without the armor. He only carried a string and stones. And then, when Goliath saw this young man come and he said, am I a dog that you come at me with sticks? And the Philistine cast David by his gods. Come here, he said, and I will give your flesh to the birds and the wild animals. You know, it is very interesting that how David responded to that. David said to the Philistine, "You come against me with sword and javelin, but I come against you in the name of the Lord Almighty, the God of the armies of Israel, whom you have defied." What a beautiful hope the man gave. And as you know, he defeated Goliath. He defeated Goliath in a very shameful way, killed Goliath, and when the Philistine army saw that their king has been slain, they scampered and ran for safety. They ran. They couldn't stomach. They couldn't see how a young boy will kill their king, their giant, whom they were rank. So, and the funny thing again now, after David had done all this, King Saul claims that he doesn't know David, and then he was asking. He asked Abner, the commander of the army, "Abner, whose son is that young man?" Abner replied, "As surely as you live, your majesty, I don't know." "Whose son are you, young man?" Saul asked him. David said, "I am the son of your servant Jesse of Bethlehem." Is it true that Saul didn't know David? That is quite absurd. And that's why I say that at times people who are closer to you, when they have their own motives, the human beings are funny. Earlier before, now this is what happened. The Spirit of the Lord had departed from Saul, and an evil spirit from the Lord tormented him because of his mistakes. So Saul's attendants said to him, "See, an evil spirit from God is tormenting you. The Lord our God command his servant here to search for someone who can play the lyre. He will play when the evil spirit from God comes on you, and you will feel better." So Saul said to his attendants, "Find someone who plays well and bring him to me." One of the servants answered, "I have seen a son of Jesse of Bethlehem who knows how to play the lyre. He's a brave man and a warrior. He speaks well and is a fine-looking man, and the Lord is with him." Then Saul sent a message to Jesse and said, "Send me your son David, who is with the sheep." So Jesse took a donkey loaded with bread, a skin of wine, and a young goat, and sent them with his son to King David. David came to Saul and entered his service. Saul liked him very much, and David became one of his arm bearer. Then Saul sent word to Jesse, saying, "Allow David to remain in my service, for I am pleased with him." Wherever the Spirit from God came on Saul, David would take up his lyre and play. Then the relief would come to Saul. He would feel better, and the evil spirit will leave him. What an irony. This is the man who has been playing a lyre for King Saul, before, and now he's claiming is that he doesn't know David. How absurd, how forgetful at times we can be. How quick do we forget the people? The many people you know will turn around and say they don't know you when you have succeeded. Now, David has defeated the giant. And now he's claiming that he never saw him. He doesn't know him. He's asking him, whose son is he? Do you ever get yourself critics, people who become so envious of you that they don't want to say they know you because their motives are bad? Don't you think David had a reason to say, oh, how can you pretend that you don't know me? I've been playing this music for you. No. He chose to go through the 3 stages of criticism. He looked at the criticism and understood. He considered the source of the criticism. Is this person qualified? Then he considered the accuracy of the criticism, whether it's genuine. And then he chose his response. Now, if you do this, you will always overcome. You can, if you do this, you can shame your critics. Your critics will be ashamed and you will be successful in life and make them swallow